Okay, come get scissors. They're in this drawer. What? I just love you too, that's all. Okay, come get scissors. They're in the drawer. They're in this drawer.
Kill. I's following suit. We's working.
Work and work. All right. So,
Let's see.
welcome.
Welcome to the Naked Apple.
The Naked Apple, not just any Naked Apple.
Not any, just the.
The Naked Apple. Podcast numero the first. We technically recorded another one, but it was botched. So this is the first.
It was badly botched.
This is 1.1.
Technically, we've recorded 2.
1.3.
This is as we slowly figure things out, eventually about 1.7 we might actually release one.
Yep.
So
And then it'll be another month, and then we'll get another one.
exactly, it'll be good. It'll be good.
Consistency.
Technical difficulties are the name of the game, and think fast.
That hit my mic.
Did it really?
Yes.
That was fun. Where'd that go? Oh, it's over there. I see it.
So we'll be your hosts on this journey that will hopefully describe well to you before we get too sidetracked. Of
I'm easily sidetracked.
truth-ishness, enlightenment-is, entertaining-ishness.
What do you get when you put those 3 things together?
The Naked Apple.
Truth attainment?
Oh. Entruthment?
Intruthment. The Naked Apple, your source
Intruthment.
of intruthment.
And we'll be your hosts. I am Trevor.
And I am Mike.
And that is Mike. So we'll start off trying to get to know who we are. And
I've been trying to
where
get to
we're
know
coming
who
from.
I am for years.
Same.
It's been a lifelong endeavor, actually.
So, Mike and I have known each other for at least 5 minutes.
At least
At least.
5 minutes.
We went to the same
Possibly even 7.
we went to the same high school,
Where we knew of each other,
but basically didn't know.
but
each
basically
other.
didn't know each other.
No.
No.
Yeah, and we met through. We got to know each other through a common friend,
Mhm.
and the friendship was forged
In the fires of Mordor. One friendship to rule them all.
to rule them all. What, probably the last 10 years?
Yeah,
ish?
about.
9-10 years?
About, let's see, I got home from a mission 2008? No, 2010. And that, let's see.
And I got home at 11.
Yeah, I was going to say it was 2 years and then I bought this house.
And that's
And
about
that's when Chase moved in and we started hanging out.
that's when we started associating more so.
So
Yes.
it was like right after you got home. Well, about a year after you got home.
Ish.
Ish.
Yep. And I was already married.
You were?
Almost married.
Almost married.
Almost married.
Well, I think
Yes,
you got
almost.
married right before we started hanging out.
October?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Are we playing footsie?
We are totally playing footsie right now. I didn't know that you liked me that much.
Well, I mean, we got to progress the friendship somehow. Can't let it stay stagnant.
That's right. You're not going forwards, you're going backwards.
We are both fans of the Lord's Nectar, Dr. Pepper.
Yes, yes we are.
He's diet. I am not.
As you can tell by how
Right.
much fatter I am than he is.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a fat joke towards me. That's fine. That's fine. If it's directed towards yourself, that's
Yeah, well,
fine.
yeah, no, I'm the one trying to lose weight. You've already, what is this?
I mean,
I might be an addict as I pop my 5th one tonight.
And I might have the largest cup of it possible.
He might. Indeed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. What else do we need to go over? I mean, that's pretty much all there is to know about me.
More or less.
I like Dr. Pepper, and I'm Trevor's friend.
That's all you need.
That's all there is about me.
So,
Nothing else about it.
we'll go with why Naked Apple.
Why Naked Apple?
Why the Naked Apple? That's probably more so my answer, but I want to
Yes.
see why you like the Naked Apple.
I like the Naked Apple because of the way that you explained it to me. There's so many people that are trying to compare apples and oranges in this world. There's so much stuff that's covered up and just kind of buried in the day-to-day. And so the Naked Apple was this idea of peeling back that layer and comparing things that are actually comparable and exposing what is the real feeling and idea behind it, at least as far as like we see it.
Right. And unfettered, biased opinion towards the truth that we find.
And only partially censored idea of
Yeah, I think it was
everything.
I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. I came up with the idea of the Naked Apple, not necessarily as a podcast, just as like a Facebook page. And I came up with the idea because the job I was working at the time, I had a lot of time on my hands working the graveyard, night shift, whatever it was, to just kind of sit there. And so a lot of the debates at the time, I think there was mostly gun related, and I also worked in the firearm industry. And so I decided to look up the numbers of what everyone's throwing around, and found the raw data of it all. And then I put out things of all the stuff I found on Facebook, and I thought I should just have a Facebook page for it instead of blasting my personal page with all this stuff that nobody really cares about.
Right.
And that's basically what started the Naked Apple. It's digging through this bowl of fruit and comparing the stuff that's actually comparable, because an orange is not the same as an apple. Neither is a banana the same as an apple or an orange or whatever. That's kind of the origin of it. And then Mike and I came to the conclusion we should do a podcast. Mike's wanted to do it longer than I have, at least probably.
I'm just tired of, there's so many voices out there, so many things that are going on in the world.
So why not add a couple more voices to it?
Well, and not just that, like that they're saying all these things, and there's nobody that's taking the things that they're saying and being like, okay, like look at this part of this argument and this part of this argument. These people are saying the same thing, but they're arguing with each other.
Yeah.
Because they don't see what's going on. They don't, like everybody's mad about all these different things, and they're just going at each other. And, it's, I've always wanted a place where I could actually have a voice.
Right.
And so here we are.
Whether you listen or not, we have a voice.
That's right. That is right.
Whether we're banned or not, we have a voice. We'll find other avenues.
We will find a way.
Over, under, around, we will find a way.
Sometimes even through.
No, that's very true, because there's so many people that are just so upset about nothing in the end.
Pretty much.
And then there's people that are very upset about things that are actually legitimate.
Right. Well, and I mean, you take a very common current example. You have all these people with this virus out here that there are people that are just absolutely terrified, and they don't want to go outside. They don't want anybody else to go outside.
Right.
And it's their fear driving them. And then there's people on the other side that are they're not afraid at all. They're tired of people stealing their rights, of people forcing them to do things.
You could say they have a fear of the government.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They have a fear on another avenue.
Right.
And so these people are fighting each other and not trying to find a common middle ground.
Right.
You know, there's so many of these protesters out here that are protesting the taking away of our freedom, but they aren't saying don't social distance, don't do these other things. You know,
Right.
but
They're just saying, let us be adults.
they're saying, let us be adults. Don't treat us like children. You know, tell us what we need to do and leave it up to us to take care of it. Don't arrest people for going to the park. Don't, you know, do these things that they're doing. But the people on the other side, they're scared of what happens or what could happen if people just go back to normal life. And they're not listening to each other's fears. Neither side is listening to each other's fears.
Exactly.
They're just going at each other nonstop. It's all you ever hear about. It's all you ever see, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
For literally everyone involved and not involved in both sides of every argument.
Because the people that are more so for staying at home, it's not necessarily that they want to stay at home the whole time. They want, and they don't want the country to fall apart economically.
Right.
Their fear of the virus overwhelming everything is just more of a priority to them than those other fears, and vice versa with the protesters.
Exactly.
And you and I tend to, at least from the others' perspective, we would lean more with the protesters based off our background, and we'll hopefully get more into that instead of this being a virus episode.
I don't want to do a virus episode. I'm tired of the virus.
I'm tired of it.
I'm tired of the virus episodes.
But a common ground that
It was just an easy example. I'm sorry.
a common ground that you and I would see is with siding with the protesters is let the country open up and give recommendations of how to protect ourselves from viruses, which for the most part we should be doing already anyway. Wash your hands.
And your face.
Don't be gross.
And
is the gist
everything.
of it.
Wash everything. Wash it all.
From there, you have businesses and whatever that decide, okay, we're only going to allow this many people in because we don't want to get in trouble for people getting sick.
Or we're not going to open at all.
Or we're not
You
going to
know,
open
you
at
know,
all. Or
that's-
we're going to supply masks so we can still have the same customer base, but everyone has masks and we disinfect more often than we normally would. Things like that.
Right.
Where you and I get a little stir crazy is where the government steps in and says, everyone has to do this. Everyone has to do this. Why? Because New York is doing that. Well, it's not bad out here in the rural nowheres.
Right. Yeah. No, seriously. Okay.
Frank had it down the road and he sneezed a couple times. And
Right.
so why? That's basically where we're coming from. And there is that middle ground there where everyone is technically satisfied. And if those that are still afraid of, no, we need to be closed for another year and a half, stay home. We're not telling you have to go to the store. Well, you probably do have to go to the store. But we're not telling you have to go to the restaurant. You have to go to the movies.
Right. And everybody else that is doing these things will follow the recommendations. Well, I mean, not everybody will, but you know, for the most part, people are smart enough.
Like any other rules of society, most people will follow the rules.
Right, exactly. Like, you don't have to make it an arrestable offense. Just let people make up the rules that will keep us safe as businesses, as individuals, as states. Don't try to enforce these things on large scale.
Right.
Because it's much more efficient at a smaller scale. The smaller the scale, the more efficient it'll be.
And you'll find as these episodes go on and on, we'll take basically that same road with every subject that comes up.
More or less.
But yeah, so viruses aside.
Yes. Viruses aside.
Let's
As far aside as we can possibly throw them right now.
we got our prep of things to ask.
Mine is much smaller than his.
Mine's bigger. Let's see.
That's not what she said.
I'm going to pick one,
Okay. I'm ready.
and I'm going to pick. Oh, we already kind of did that one. Why do you want to do this podcast? Ooh. What are you not good at?
Pretty much everything.
Not even good
I
at
am a
this.
jack of no trades.
And therefore, a master of none.
Therefore, a master of none. Right. What's funny is I wrote these questions down myself, and I haven't thought through them. So
That's a good question.
that's a good question. Yeah, I like
And
that.
done.
I like that question. I'm not good at answering questions. That's
Right. It's like when you're in a job interview. What are three traits people say you're really good at? I don't know.
three
people never tell me
traits I'm good at. Generosity, empathy, and spaghetti.
anything. Yeah. I can open a can of SpaghettiOs like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I got that amazing twist grip. That's what it's all about. Okay, something that I am not very good at. I am not very good at keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or keeping a level head when I get passionate about something. Either one of those. Not good at those.
That is a tough one.
I care very deeply about a lot of things, and when I feel like something is not correct, I guess, or not not in line with my passions, I tend to, not be very receptive to it, which is something I am trying to work on. I expose my weaknesses on air.
You take that change my mind challenge to a whole new level.
Change my mind. It's going to result in a knife duel. That's what it's going to.
So something I'm not very good at, which I find kind of ironic sometimes, is I am not good at drawing at all.
I also suck at drawing.
But what's fun about that is I went to school for engineering, specifically aerospace engineering. I can design some sweet airplanes. I can design some sweet engineering stuff. Can't draw it.
Can't draw it?
I can
That's all
I can
right.
picture something in my mind in a 2D picture and then morph it into a 3D picture in my head. Can't translate that to paper at all.
I've often thought that somebody needs to invent a helmet that can read your thoughts and just print
That would be extremely
just
dangerous because
print what you're thinking.
it'd be going crazy with halfway through the print it would change
Halfway
to
through the
something
print,
else.
it'd be like these interlaced pictures of random things.
Hold on, we gotta let's see. This one goes with this.
Mix
There it
match. Okay, so I see the beginnings of an aeroplane. That's a tent.
Worst game of Pictionary ever.
And this is why my ideas never go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm at a dead end job.
Well, I wouldn't call it dead end.
Maybe.
My job's pretty solid. I like my job. All right, well, I guess it's my turn to pick then,
Your
huh?
turn to pick. Pick.
Let's see. Oh, I'm going to go for the jugular.
Oh, do it.
Because whenever you are fighting in a circus, always go for the jugular. Okay. We're getting into deep questions.
Deep.
I almost want to ask the other question now, just because that'd be really funny. But What is truth?
What is truth?
What is truth?
You want my truth or truth? Mike triggered in
Hey,
2,
hey.
1. Truth
It is important to define your terms.
Truth is absolute. There is no way it can change. Gravity is truth. We may not completely understand it.
I was going to say gravity is a theory.
Yes. We may not completely understand it, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It just means we don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use gravity as the example because we know it's there.
Right.
We know it works. We have formulas to prove that it does work. But in my mind, if we fully understood gravity, we would be able to make artificial gravity for space or anti-gravity type things for propulsion. But we don't. The best anti-gravity we got is slapping a bunch of fuel on the side of a tube and sending it off into the sky.
By lighting it on fire.
Yes.
That's the best
That's
part.
the best thing
That's
we
the
got.
best part.
A giant firework.
Giant
launched into
firework carries our ass into space. Yep.
So
Pretty
yeah,
much.
truth is absolute, does not change, and no matter, yeah, that's it. I really know how to go deeper than that. Is 1 + 1 is 2. You can throw whatever Common Core stuff you want at it. 1 + 1 is still 2. If you have one thing, add another thing, you have 2 things.
That's true.
That's
Unless
true.
there's decimal points on it, in which case you have
In which case, 1.0 is plus 1.0 is still 2.
what's pi plus pi?
Pi times 2.
Pi
S-
pi
Six-
squared.
6.28 something. I don't know.
No, pi squared would be pi times pi. I'm retarded. Anyway, he's learning. It's been a long day, man.
What would you say truth is?
Truth
Was my
is-
answer satisfactory?
Your
for
answer
you?
was satisfactory. I liked your answer a lot. I did. Truth to me has always been what is remaining when you remove opinion and perspective. One of my favorite sayings has always been in every story there's always 3 sides. There's your side, their side, and the truth.
Right.
Because the truth is always what everything boils down to. So, there's no alternate truths. There's no, things. If something is true, it cannot be contradicted. That's what makes it a truth.
Right.
And so it's always been, when we were talking about doing this podcast and we mentioned that we wanted to use this as a platform to try to find truth. That was always my idea of it, was that we would try to set aside perspective and opinion and find the actual tidbits of truth in everything.
Right.
And try to bring them together in something digestible
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah, because you can throw all kinds of data at whatever,
Right.
and to me, data paints the best picture of truth because
Numbers never lie.
numbers rarely lie.
Numbers rarely
Depends on how
There you
they're
go.
entered.
That's valid. See, and there you go. Adding perspective to numbers.
But the more points of data you can collect, the closer to the truth you can get.
Right.
For example, when I was doing all my stuff searching up firearm stuff, I looked at more than just the news stories. I looked up more than just what the CDC and the FBI have. I looked at individual states and individual counties to compare numbers to make sure everything added up, and there were discrepancies between all of them. From that, you basically take an average of what you find, or you find something that's the most consistent, and try to use that.
Well, and obviously you boil down truth to this simple version of things, but life is always so much more complicated than that.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that that go into everything, and it's often hard to find the little points of truth through all the noise in the world. And so that's something that, you know, I think a lot of people really wish they had a way to find all the data and all the facts and all these things, and then distill the truth out of it.
Right.
And it's hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
Even when you make it your pastime, it's still very hard.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm not an investigative journalist or anything like that, so
Well, who is anymore?
we won't get into that. But the cool thing about truth to me is the fact that you don't need to be an expert in something to find truth.
No.
You know, it doesn't matter if you have studied something for decades or studied it for 15 minutes. A truth is a truth is a truth. And being able to discern a truth and bring it into something that makes sense is a skill that I honestly think has been lost in this world for a while.
Yeah.
You know, because there's just so many conflicting ideas out there. It's hard.
So would you agree that an expert does not necessarily know the truth, but one who seeks the truth can be an expert?
Yes, I would, because
Or can become an expert via seeking the truth.
the thing I think most people forget about experts is, yeah, they've been at this longer than anybody else has. Obviously, that's why they're an expert. They've looked at it longer than anybody else has.
Right.
But they're still human. You know, humans make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time. You know, we try not to, but every one of us eventually is going to screw up.
It's just our nature.
It's just our nature. You know, I have no doubt that at some point during this show, we are going to say something that somebody is going to tear us apart for. And, you know, if we look into it and we know we're wrong, I hope that we're big enough men that we would come and apologize about it and correct whatever error we made.
Lead with the mistakes.
You know, yeah, exactly. I live by a very simple motto, and that is trust no one. Because the truth of the matter is, people make mistakes, people do stupid things, people fly off the cuff on stuff. And so the only person that you can truly believe in is yourself.
Hopefully.
And the things that you find, that you understand. You know, and do your own research, do your own homework, look for things, to look for truth.
Right.
You know, and that's what that's always meant to me is, you know, you never really know somebody. You know, you talk about crimes and things like that happen. You know, the grand majority of kidnappers are family members. The grand majority of, you know, most crimes happen by somebody you know.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And almost every time in every story, I never thought they were capable of this. Never.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's not to say don't have relationships, don't have friends.
Stop socializing with everyone.
Well, yes, do that because of the virus. Ooh, wait, did I say that out loud? Dang it, you brought me back to it. But no. Like it just it's a matter of self-reliance. You need to find a way to be self-sustained and self-reliant in this world.
Yes.
Because there is literally nobody else in this world that cares as much about you as you do.
So trust but verify.
Yes. There you go. There you go.
Good.
I think it's your turn.
Okay. Well, I'm going to fire back with another deep one for you. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom.
Mr. We the people have had enough.
We've had so much of enough. Freedom to me is the like this is one of those things I'm like super passionate about. It's really hard to get into words, you know.
Namaste.
Freedom to me is it's the innate part of a person that nobody else can take from them. You know, and I say that knowing full well that, you know, people in slavery and all these different things across the world, but, you know, true freedom comes not from the outside world. It doesn't come from somebody saying you can do something. It doesn't come from somebody giving you something.
Right.
You know, so many people, they say things like, you know, healthcare is a right. It's not. It's not a right. Because a right, a freedom, is something that cannot be given to you. It's something that you have. And if you are willing to go against everybody else and everyone else's idea of what you should be, and find it within yourself, you can have it. You know, you talk about the Bill of Rights as freedoms. You know, the freedom of speech. I have the right to say whatever I please. Well, that's because as long as I don't care what the consequences that other people will impose on me are, I can literally say whatever I please.
You can't get fire in a thing.
Right. Like I said, as long as I am willing to ignore the consequences that other people will have for me, you know. And that's not to say that there shouldn't be civilized rules, things like that. But it's to say that there is no amount of governance that can take away your ability to say what you want.
Right.
There is no amount of governance that can take away your ability to pick up a rock and defend yourself when somebody comes at you.
Yep.
You know, and you know, you extrapolate that into guns, whatever. But the real core of freedom is an individual's ability to take care of themselves. And everyone has it, and government stifles it, and people that want to control other people stifle it. But when true freedom is practiced, it inevitably brings about the greatest prosperity in the world every single time.
Yep.
And that's what freedom means to me.
Very nice.
Somewhere in my inane ramblings, I hope you got a semblance of
We'll,
what I tried to convey in that.
We'll pick and choose some sound bites that work.
Yeah, just chop that up and make it, you know,
Chop that
whatever.
into something coherent. Why does his face keep skipping around?
He's like mid-sentence, and he's like on a different subject. I don't understand what's going on. That's just the way he talks. Don't worry about it. I'm not here to be the brains. I'm just the money.
Just the... You've got the brain. I've got the brawn. Let's make lots of money.
Wait, is there a hole in the sky?
Where the tree once stood.
Is somebody making money?
Somebody's making money.
Somebody's making money.
I hope we get to that clip eventually. Great.
And that song will forever be stuck in your head.
Forever.
Forever. It's your turn, man. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom to me is you're dropped in the middle of nowhere. There's no civilization nearby, no government nearby, nobody else nearby. What do you have what do you have the right to do all by yourself in the middle of nowhere?
You're so much more eloquent. Concise. That's the phrase that you're concise.
Because
so much more concise than I am.
Because to me, and I would love to do an episode about this, that's what all of this is. All of this.
An episode where we drop you on an island by yourself? And
Maybe. That would come when money starts flowing. That's when we do that. I'm getting paid for that. I'm not doing it on a whim.
Okay, when you have that kind of money, I'll burn mine.
Deal. So freedom. That's how I see these documents back here.
Mm-hmm.
Is
because they were negative freedom. Like it's not what you are capable of doing. It is what the government is allowed to take away from you.
It is what the government is not allowed to take away from you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You forgot the not.
No, I didn't. I said not.
We'll go back to the tapes.
We'll go back to the tapes. That's fine.
Pretty sure.
I know I'm right.
Pretty sure.
I'm 100% sure that I spoke clearly into my microphone the word not.
But yeah.
Negative.
Yeah, because the founders, one of the things they looked at was nature. So what is natural? So a gazelle has a right to better itself, whether it's by frolicking through the field, eating this grass instead of that grass, having a family. It has a right to all that. It even has a right to defend itself, as terrible as it is at it.
Yes, and the lion has a right to eat it when it fails.
And the lion has the exact same rights. And then, so back to my thing of drop a person in the middle of nowhere. What do they have a right to? They have a right to fend for themselves. They have a right to make a house, property. They have a right to defend themselves from whatever decides to try to attack them. They have a right to think however they want, speak however they want, worship however they want. It's as if I'm going through 10 specific things that are found in nature and left by yourself.
I think I heard a really good summarization. It was your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Was that the
property originally?
Property,
but yes, property originally.
Right.
But yes, happiness.
Oh yes. Oh okay.
If property
Property
generally makes people happy.
That's right. You know.
But
I'm happily Wait. No. I lost.
So yeah. So in man's natural state, you have those rights, because if some other person comes wandering into your camp, you're going to start asking questions. Why are you here? What do you do? Get out of my tent. You start picking up your little spear. You know, you have rights, and the individual is the smallest minority in any demographic. And an individual's rights end where another person's begin. So as soon as you walk into that person's camp, you're invading their rights, and they have a right to do whatever they want to get you out of their rights. And that's how I see it. And then, like these fabulous documents say, government is supposed to protect those rights, those freedoms. But that's what freedom is to me. Freedom's
the only true purpose of a government is to protect the rights of the individuals that reside therein, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's what freedom is to me. It's what I'm out camping, I'm away from everything. What do I have a right to? I get injured. I have a right to seek medical care, but I do not have a right to medical care, because healing yourself is, in my mind, it's part of defending yourself, because you're dying. More or less, an injury equals eventually death if left untreated. And you have a right to seek something to protect yourself from that injury. You do not have a right to force people to protect yourself from that injury, just like you don't have a right to force the government to buy you a firearm, as great as it would be.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I think.
That was much more beautiful than what I said.
Yeah,
We
there's
can
gonna
cut
be a
out
lot
what I
less
said.
editing there.
That's just chop mine right off. We'll just take your answer, and we'll call it a day. That'll be good.
All right,
So is it my turn?
it's my turn.
It's your turn?
Yeah, because
Did I?
no, it's your
Nope,
turn.
it's my turn.
Yours.
It's my turn.
It's yours.
Try to take my turn. You're
Walk us through this next part.
violating
if you
my
would.
rights by taking my turn. Okay,
You are
this
free to
this
pick
one.
the question I choose.
Here we go. You're free to pick the question I choose. Here we go. This one's gonna be a brain buster. I'm expecting a very very in-depth answer from you on this. Okay.
7.
Room, desk, and car. Which one do you clean first?
At what stage in my life?
Now, like you have a room, you have a desk, and you have a car. Which
Yes.
of the three is the one that you would keep clean?
See, I asked this. I'll explain why in a second. But right now, I guess room. I think.
I think.
Because before, my car was like immaculate on the inside. You go look at it now; it's filled with masks and cans of soda that are empty.
Filled with masks.
masks.
Oh, masks. I was like, you're holding a
Masks.
Catholic religious rite in your
Yes.
car? Is that?
Yep, the mask
Okay.
is always in my car.
Well, right now. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's understandable.
But yeah, so I think I pick room.
Room. Why room?
No, I pick desk. Now that I actually think about it. Desk. I clean my desk. Not my work desk, my home desk. I
Your home desk.
I care less about my work desk.
Okay.
Yeah, my home desk. Because I generally spend more time there. And it's also visible to the most people. So keeping that kind of neat is probably good.
All right, then.
Nobody rides in my car, so that's the bottom. And I don't care about that car anymore, so there's that.
Well,
too.
when you don't care about something, you generally stop taking care of it, right? It's
My parents
like
saw the
I
car
was
when I
about to
was
make a
at,
terrible joke right there.
saved you.
You did. Continue on.
So my parents saw the inside of my car when I was over there a bit ago, and my mom's, do you clean your car ever? I mean, I'd like to, but I just don't have time between fixing the car and then going to work, going home, finding sleep somewhere in the middle of all that. I don't have time to walk outside and clean my car, especially since most of winter was happening, but I didn't clean it the fall, summer, or spring before that either. So, but she gave me some stuff to clean it. So here, just wipe your handles and stuff between when you're at a red light or something. So, I don't know. I think the dirt and grime is what's holding this thing together.
It's glued together with love and prayers and hope.
A lot of hope.
A lot of hope.
A little further. Out of gas. You're not out of gas.
There's two kinds of people. I'm a half tank. I need to fill up, and hey, I know my vehicle.
I know my vehicle. I'm number 2. I should be number 1 because that gauge goes from half to empty a lot faster than it goes from full to half.
I feel that way about my motorcycle.
So which do you choose?
I'm gonna go with car.
Car.
Yeah, because it's brand new.
Fair.
It's nice. I like it clean. Also, because I spend a lot of time there.
It's basically your office.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Other than my actual office, which I don't clean at all because, like, what's the point? It'll just have more papers on it tomorrow.
Did you get those papers? Probably.
They're here.
Did you put that in the
I
in?
got this one.
Did you put that in the in pile or out pile? You have piles?
Do you have piles? Yeah. Like 30 of them.
This is in.
This is
This
in.
is out.
This is out. That sounds about right. And my room, I mean, we keep it fairly tidy, so yeah,
All right.
I keep my truck clean. Also because it's just such a pretty truck. It's a sin. It's a sin to let that not be clean.
Okay.
Just saying.
Fair.
Just saying.
Fair.
Your turn.
My turn. Hello. Ooh, what you got? That is so pretty.
Oh, that's cool.
Mike's wife has a pretty flower in a
She does.
fold-out
It's very pretty.
book paper thing. Mother's
It's
Day
a Mother's
card.
Day card.
And Mother's Day flower on a straw.
Beautiful.
Don't
You
even
don't have
go
to
to the
buy one
store.
for the mother-in-law. I love you. Yeah, trying
Mostly.
to. I don't know. We'll see when we get to the judgment bar.
Do you want the truth or do you want something to make you feel better?
Well, I mean, we already talked about truth this round.
All right,
so
something to make you feel better.
something
yes.
to make me feel better.
Flashing,
Love you, babe.
flashing loving gang signs at us now.
I don't think that was a gang sign. I think that was the bird finger. Oh.
None of those.
None of those.
Equate
I don't
the
know. I
bird.
didn't see it.
Loving gang sign.
Loving gangs. That's sign language for I love you.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, I gotta fix some things. All right.
I mean, we only got like 4 questions left, so.
I know. It takes a minute to read 4 questions, okay?
It does. A full minute.
Count it.
And counting.
Don't do it. Don't.
do it.
Don't. App. Don't. No, you can't.
What are you taking it for?
To
Oh,
Chrome
there?
Google.
Oh, okay. It's going to be a pain to plug in there. You got to move like the entire dresser. Just saying. Just saying. I love you.
Which fictional character do you wish you could meet?
Ooh. I got this one.
You got. This is the
I got
one
this
that you
one.
thought
This
about.
is this is the
the
one
whole list. This
that
is
I
the
thought.
one
This
that
is
you thought
the
about.
whole list, and this the last one I wrote down is the only one that I contemplated in any depth at all. Have you ever read the book series The Sword of Truth?
No.
You should. It's great. But the fictional character that I would most like to meet is Richard Rahl. He is the main character from the series The Sword of Truth. And he's a wizard and the, technically, I guess, emperor of the Daharan Empire. But he is a very down-to-earth, like he was raised in a rural area. He was a woods guide, and his first title in the book is actually Seeker of Truth.
Seeker of Truth.
And he wields the Sword of Truth. You know, go figure.
Because.
Because exactly. So anyway, the kind of the story behind Richard and his adventures is, the Seeker of Truth is a man that is appointed by a wizard to kind of be a mediator for all of the lands.
Yeah, that truth seeker Harry.
and his kind of his role is to find
Truth.
truth of things. and to dole out justice where it needs to be doled out. But throughout the entire series, he becomes the ruler of this land, Dahara, where he immediately turns around and basically frees the people that have been in slavery and all these things for years, and then he ends up going to war against this empire that's trying to subjugate the world.
Right.
They have these ideals that they pitch as altruistic and benevolent, and their followers, and especially the followers amongst the leadership, are complete zealots. They believe wholeheartedly in this, and that it improves lives and does all these things. And there's one of the books, book number 6, The Faith of the Fallen, is my favorite book in the entire
So
series.
there's 6 of these books?
Oh no, there's 12 of these books.
Yeah, I'm not reading that.
And they're all close to 1,000 pages long.
Definitely not reading that.
I read the 6th book over 30 times when I was in high school.
Is there a movie?
No,
Is
there's not.
there a series?
There was a series. I think they canceled it after the first season. But the guy that
never
played
know how
Richard
this
wasn't.
ends then.
The guy that played Richard wasn't really great in that one. But anyway, in the 6th book, Richard is abducted by one
Aliens.
of. Yes, aliens. He's abducted by. No.
Oh,
He's abducted by one of the leadership of the Empire. He's taken into the Empire, and they try to teach him the wrong of his ways and the right of their ways. And, he goes in. He's basically a slave. He's held against his will in this foreign land away from everybody he loves. And he goes in and just makes the best of a terrible situation. He starts making new friends in the Empire and improving the lives of those around him while also improving his own life, just by making the best of a bad situation.
Right.
And eventually it actually sparks a revolt in the heart of the Empire and changes the heart of the person that kidnapped him. And so he's always been kind of this bigger than life character in my mind, from this series, this man who he portrays all of the ideals of freedom and self-reliance that I care so much about.
Right.
So that's why I pick him.
Nice. And his name was again?
Richard Rahl.
Richard Rahl. Mm-hmm. From the book series
Book series The Sword of
Sword
Truth.
of Truth. Mm-hmm. Nice.
What about you? Which fictional character do you wish you could meet?
This is one I actually did kind of think about and couldn't really think of much of anyone. I thought maybe Ender from Ender's Game would be kind of interesting.
Andrew Wiggin? Be a good one.
But then I thought, well, scratch that. First I thought Master Chief from Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, no, that wouldn't be very fun and super geeky, whatever. And
Right.
then I thought Ender's Game. It's from a book. It sounds intelligent. And I read that book before I saw
It
the
makes
movie.
me sound cultured, okay?
But then I went back to Master Chief, and in the middle of that was other ones that I don't remember.
Right.
But then I went back to Master Chief because I was also thinking initially, he's not a talker, Master Chief. And he's not really one that likes his brain being picked. However, Halo 5 kind of changed a lot about how Halo is looked at. Because a while ago we have this group text that's been going for eons.
Literally.
And at one point I asked everyone what their favorite Halo song is. And mine was from, actually, Halo 4. So Halo 4 and Halo 5 changed a lot of the emotion behind Halo. In Halo 4, I chose a song. It's probably the longest song in the Halo series, the Green and Blue. And I chose that because it's just got all this raw emotion in it. And it's, for those of you that have watched it, it's the scene towards the end of the game, where Master Chief detonates the nuke or whatever and saves the world universe. But the song is just filled with so much emotion. You can feel that coming with the instruments coming in and out, different types of instruments for the different characters and the different feelings that are supposed to be there. So I thought of that, and then I thought, well, in Halo 5, he actually shows a lot more of his character, of who he is. Because he's told at one point, early on in the game that starts you off on the campaign of the game, is he has this interaction with Cortana, who's supposed to be gone, but has contact with her somehow, and she tells him that she's going to be at this place or whatever. And so he's like, well, now I need to go there and see what's up at this place, because I'm pretty sure she's gone, but she's contacted me somehow.
Right.
So they fight their way through all the alien hordes, and on their way out, they contact their command and tell them they're redirecting towards this place that Cortana said. And command says, negative, we have someone on that already. And tell him he's to return to command immediately. And he tells him that's a negative, and cuts off the channel and starts on his merry way. And what I liked about that was he instantly thought, something's up. If they're telling me to not seek out this information on someone that's supposed to be gone, but apparently isn't, that I've spent most of my military career with. And Cortana is an AI, so it's not like a physical person, it's a AI.
Right.
For those that don't know. But, so it'd just be interesting to pick his brain, because from what I've read in the books, that's not the first time he's done that, of where he just kind of takes his own lead on things.
Yeah, no, I'm going to do it my way.
And for the most part, he doesn't get pushed back on it, because you can't argue with the results. He wins every time. It'd be really interesting just to pick his brain to see how he kind of balances this. Much like Ender's Game, as a child, he was kidnapped as a child. Ender's Game, he wasn't really kidnapped, he volunteered. Ish. But he was kidnapped as a child, and then was in military training and genetic enhancements all throughout his childhood into his adulthood, and all he's ever known is military career and stuff like that. And it'd be interesting to be able to pick his brain and see how he balances being basically a military equipment versus finding whatever humanity is in him. You know what I mean? I think it'd be interesting to try to pick through that.
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't say anything, but still.
Yeah.
The goal would be fun.
Yeah. No, that would be a really interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, here's this guy. This guy's got this really in-depth character and sort of truth, blah, blah, blah. Master Chief.
Master Chief. Hey, no. Master Chief is pretty deep. Like, there's a lot of lore to the Halo series, and Master Chief is, he flies pretty well for a brick.
He does. He flies dang good for a brick.
Flies dang good for a brick. Let's see, is it my turn or yours?
It is yours.
All right. Ooh, let's see. Oh. Tell me something true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
See, that's hard to think about, because for the most part in your mind, you think something's true. You think, well, everyone thinks that is true because it's true. At least in my mind, because like we talked before, truth is truth.
Right.
It's not my truth. It's not your truth. It's true.
Right. makes the question harder since we defined truth earlier.
Yeah.
Because you can't say something like tag-alongs are the best, because that's an opinion,
Yeah.
right?
Sounds like, what is that?
See, I was hoping that you wouldn't get to this question before I did because I'm totally stealing your answer.
Here we go. The United States is the greatest thing that has ever happened to the world.
You would have to actually pick something I agree with.
Most people.
That's true. Most people.
Of course, that being said, I'm sure if you polled the world, you'd probably get most that agree.
Depends on where you polled,
The world.
I would think.
The world.
Yes, well, I mean,
But
China makes up a great portion of the world, and I don't think they would agree. But
Yeah, I mean,
it's
probably.
that's a problem of
that's
education.
That's all. Yeah.
Anyway,
But yeah, I think I go with that, and it's probably more so I think that for my answer, because the loudest voices would say otherwise.
right.
So that's probably what I actually have to base it off of, because I think for the most part, no matter what actual truth you pick, most people agree with that, except for the loudest voices that say otherwise. I think.
Let's see. And the idea of almost nobody agreeing with it is also a perspective because I mean, yeah, if you look at media and everything going on that people are putting out into the world, then yes, most people don't agree with you. And people that only listen to those kind of things don't agree with you.
Yeah.
But anybody who looks at the hard facts and looks at the actual histories and things and studies it would agree. That's right.
Yeah.
No, totally get it. Good answer. It means it's my turn to answer, isn't it?
It is, unless you got some follow-up to save yourself some time to think.
Well, now I'm thinking of a follow-up instead of the actual answer. No. Okay, I got it. No, I don't. I lost it. Oh, no, I got it again. Okay, so something that is true that almost nobody agrees with me on would be that individual freedom has, throughout history, benefited far more people than all welfare programs.
So you agree?
Ever could.
So you agree that the United States is the greatest thing that's ever happened to this world?
Yes, I just stated it different, calling me out on that. Well, I mean, we're not the only free. Wait, just trying to, because Canada is. Wait,
Well,
But
they have no.
no.
Well,
they don't.
Sweden's got.
Sweden's got free markets, kind of.
I mean, the markets are in the open air.
They are. They
which
are
is kind of free.
free-ish.
And IKEA,
Actually, their markets are pretty free right now.
they are.
They kind of hard left out of socialism when they started it.
You mean hard right?
Yeah, I guess it would be a hard right, wouldn't it? Be a hard right. It was like, what was it? A couple years in, they were like, no. Yeah, I think we should, roll some of that back.
So this, it's hard to say these things without follow-up, because as soon as you start giving follow-up, that becomes opinion.
Right.
It absolutely becomes opinion.
Right.
And you could say that what we just said is opinion. And we'd have to do like 3 or 4 shows to get through
all of the things that we've looked at that developed that whole spiel we just had.
everything
Right.
from inventions of the United States having one constitution in the course of some cases hundreds of constitutions in other countries in the same time span.
If I remember the stat right, which I don't think I do, the average length, like average time period for a constitution in any other country is 10 to 20 years, if I remember correctly. Like every 10 to 20 years, they rewrite
That's
constitutions.
probably right, because I think France is the one that's in the hundreds, couple hundred.
Yeah.
They almost have one every year.
Yeah.
A new one.
Yeah, they like rewrite it almost every year.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot.
We've had one. It's right there on his wall. We're in the same room, opposite of each other, looking each other in the eyes as we whisper
Looking at each other,
answers to these random questions.
looking at each other freedomly in the eyes,
Freedomly. Red, white, and blue all over.
all over. Got that certain star-spangled look in their eye.
Oh, gosh. That makes it your turn.
Did that?
And I think I can guess which question you're going to ask,
Did that?
unless you make one up, which you totally could. I
That?
guess.
Did that? There's just one left, right?
There's only one left.
Wait, which one is it?
Second to last.
Oh, perfect.
We haven't done that one yet.
If you had one day to spend learning from any historical, non-religious figure, who would you want to learn from and why, besides Thomas Jefferson?
Besides Thomas Jefferson. Oh.
Only because he threw that caveat at me before we started.
Yeah, totally. Before the show, I asked him that question, but I said, and why Thomas Jefferson? Didn't give him any other option.
Yeah.
It was Thomas Jefferson or bust for him.
And I nixed it because I think both of us agree. I mean, there's the Jefferson Library. Congress has a library because of Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
So to pick his brain would be going through a good chunk of the Constitution of the Library of Congress.
Which is exactly why.
I know.
You know, he's the obvious choice.
And he kind of wrote the stuff that made the country, kind
Right.
of.
Yeah.
So taking that caveat aside,
Taking that.
Taking-
So he's exempt. We can't choose him.
Can't choose him.
It has to be somebody else.
Has to be somebody else. There's a whole lot of
Okay.
other names.
There's a lot of other
if
names
you
up there.
really want to
There
pick
is
one.
a lot of other names up there. Let me think for just a second then, because you just nixed the most obvious one that I was going to choose, obviously, which is why you nixed it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we'd both be choosing the same person. Okay. Let's see. It would have to be... You know what? I'm going to go with John Locke.
Good one. Mm-hmm. Why John Locke?
Because of... In all of the things that I've studied, John Locke is one of the original, like, real free thinkers.
Right.
You know, he was one of the first ones that really thought outside of the system ideals. You know, and a lot of his ideas formed a basis for a lot of the different freedoms and different things that eventually wound up being put into practice across free markets everywhere.
The three treatises of government.
Mm-hmm. And the three treatises, exactly.
And
and to be able to pick the brain of a man who, at a time when there was no real free thought or
it was the dawn of free thought.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to pick the brain of that man would just be
If I remember right, it's the
astounding.
same time frame of like kind of the whole Bible revolution type thing.
right. Yeah, exactly.
With what's his name, Baptist. What's his name?
John
John
Baptist.
Baptist. No. the guy that nailed the stuff on the church and things like that.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't remember his name either.
I'm probably way off on my timeline, but we'll find out.
We will find out.
But John Locke, I'll find out. You
Yes.
you
Okay.
talk about John Locke. I'll
Me-
find
yeah,
out.
That's all I had.
That's all you had?
That
That's
was
it?
pretty much it. That's, you know, just the being able to be a day with a man whose every writing, every thought was against the norm, and see, you know, how he did it, how, like,
Luther.
yes. And,
That was about 100 some odd years before Locke, but
you know, close enough. Yeah.
that whole Bible
once,
thing was
once you get back into to that area, 100 years is nothing. It's
like 10
you
years.
know, it's like 10, right? I mean, it was barely half of somebody's lifetime back then.
But I mean,
So,
yeah, it's
you know, but yeah, just to be able to interact with a man whose very ideals were so against everything that existed at that time.
it rubbed against the status
You know.
quo in almost every way.
Exactly, and to be able to see how he was treated and how he dealt with it, and to be able to understand a man like that, I think would be extremely valuable.
Right. I do enjoy John Locke. He's probably,
You weren't expecting that, were you?
I'm sure if I actually sat and thought, I probably would have.
Yeah.
Because mostly, as far as I thought, was not Jefferson.
that's as far as either of us got there.
But John Locke, I read his 3 Treatises of Government.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember the name of the other one. I read like half of that. But I took a philosophy class in high school or in college, and of all the philosophers we covered, him and Marx were the most interesting, which is almost polar opposites on the philosophy spectrum. But yeah, it was very, yeah, I like Locke. Locke's cool.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, he was one of the original influencers for hundreds of years of progression that eventually led to the American Revolution. So, yeah. Yeah, there's that.
Actually, about 100 years. 'Cause he was the late 1600s.
Yeah, about
100 years.
Yeah. Like I said, 100 years, it's like 10 years back then, right?
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
That's about 110.
You know, it's 10 years, 100 years, same thing. The other one were you talking about, was that the letter concerning toleration that you read? Or was it something else?
I think it was one of his actual works. I think. I don't know.
Well, so I guess who would you want to spend a day learning from,
Aside from Jefferson.
aside from Jefferson? Jefferson's off the table.
Jefferson's off the table. Fix reason firmly in her seat and question with boldness.
Even the existence of a god.
For if there be one, he much rather that of reason. He much rather the voice of reason than that of blindfolded fear.
Yep.
We actually did that quote wrong.
We totally did that quote wrong.
Fix
That
reason
was-
firmly in your seat and bring to her tribunal every fact, every
Yep.
opinion, or something like that. Still butchered it.
Yeah,
You'll find
badly.
My
I'm
choice-
gonna find it while you
My
look.
choice, I was going to say Washington until about 3 minutes ago.
It was the wooden teeth, wasn't it?
No. It's Washington. I cracked open book that's got basically his rules for being civilized or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he followed each of those rules to a T. Whenever a woman entered the room, he stood up and didn't sit down until the woman sat down or whatever, or left the room.
Oh, or left.
Things like that. And never crossed his legs. He always sat proper, upright, straight the whole time. It's like 23 rules or something like that. Impossible to follow. But apparently he followed all of them. And it says something about his character.
Hats off to him for being able to follow all of those rules.
Following all those rules that he set for himself. Because he's...
Just reminds me of Zombieland.
Because he's...
Cardio.
It was such an influence on his character, that and how he composed himself and everything, that even King George, after losing the colonies to all these ragtag people and George Washington, he's talking to some emissary for England, talking to the king. And the king said, well, George won. I guess he's going to be king now. And he told him, no, he's not going to take the king. He's not going to become king. He's just retiring to his farm. And King George says, if he does that, he is the greatest person that's ever walked this earth. Sure enough, George Washington retired to his farm until the people said, we need you to fix this. We need you to start this.
Coming from crazy King George, it's,
I mean, right. I understand that, but also for someone with the attitude and the pompousness of King George,
that's true.
to compliment his basically bitter rival enemy in such a way.
So now that
really
you've
makes
gone
it.
off for 5 minutes
So now-
about George Washington,
Now that I've
who are
explained
you
why
actually
I
picking?
why I wanted to, who I really want to pick is Pinkerton.
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 Really?
Yes.
Okay, give me the why on that one.
The reason why we have the Secret Service is Pinkerton. The reason why we have private investigators is Pinkerton. The reason why the Secret Service conducts itself the way it does, even today, is Pinkerton. The reason why presidents move around anywhere today is Pinkerton. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope, I think you're
Pinkerton?
Pinkerton.
Yeah.
Alan Pinkerton.
Alan Pinkerton.
No, you got it right.
But and the reason, also I found out earlier today, actually, the reason why Private Eye is a thing is because Pinkerton's logo for his private investigator business was an eyeball.
Huh.
So that's where PI.
I didn't know that. That's
where,
actually awesome.
That's where PI, Private Eye, comes from. Is that? Because that was back in the day when people still kind of struggled with reading, and much like every pawn shop you go to basically has those little 3 hanging ball things, whatever it's called, as a symbol for the pawn shop.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That was the...
It's dying.
It's dying.
He's gone.
It's gone.
Which means it probably went like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's fine. But yeah, it's yeah. Anyways, but Pinkerton's story, it begins in Chicago, but the real interesting part begins with Abraham Lincoln being elected as president, or being elected as president. And Pinkerton was selected to help get Lincoln safely from Illinois to Washington, D.C. to be sworn in as president. And the reason why he was selected for that is because there was an assassination attempt there was an assassination plan for Lincoln before he even became president. really cool story.
He was a little late. The assassin missed it by a couple of years.
Kind of. So John Wilkes Booth was actually part of the organization.
Was he really?
Yes.
I haven't studied much about the history of Lincoln, so this is
I haven't
actually
either.
pretty.
I haven't either. And that's
interesting.
part of why I really want to look into this, because I say fairly well versed on pre-Civil War stuff, but I'm really not. The more you read, the more you find, the more you realize there's so much that
So much that went on through all that time.
So I'm just kind of dabbling closer and closer to the Civil War, and Pinkerton is about the time frame I'm starting to get to with researching stuff. But he went so far as to disguise Abraham Lincoln on a train that everyone knew he was on to Washington, D.C., and nobody found him.
Really?
One of the tallest men in the nation. Everyone knows what he looks like. And Pinkerton was able to disguise him to get him on and off the train and stay on the train. And he hired people to run ahead of the train, cut the telegraph wires so they couldn't telegraph anywhere when the train was arriving and when it was departing. This guy thought of everything.
Jeez.
And all the stuff that he put in place set the stage for the Secret Service, which started the Secret Service's first mission was to protect and recover the body of Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
After he'd been assassinated. That's when the Secret Service was formed, and they had to protect his dead body and then recover his body. And that's a whole nother fun story in and of itself, because Abraham's body went missing for a while. Nobody knew where it was. Well, one person. One person knew where it was, and the Secret Service did not know who that one person was. And the guys trying to steal the body did not know who that one person was. So that's an amazing story.
That is amazing.
It'd be fun to pick his brain and see how he thought and why he thought that. Because he's also the first to hire a woman as an investigator, as police force, basically. And she was on the train with Lincoln. She was the mother of a degenerate boy. That degenerate boy was Lincoln. That was the disguise. This overgrown, tall, lengthy guy just kind of crippling along.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't care who you are. That's awesome.
So yeah, Pinkerton, he's got a mind to pick.
Yeah.
That would be my
Apparently.
pick. Yeah.
Good stuff. Found the quote that we butchered.
Oh, good.
Fix reason firmly in her seat, and call to her tribunal every fact, every opinion. Question with boldness even the existence of a God, because if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear.
Yep.
Thomas Jefferson.
And no, that's not a Thomas Jefferson was atheist quote.
Right.
He's saying question everything.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
So it's from a letter to his nephew, if I remember correctly. Yeah, cool. That wraps up episode 1.3-ish. I'm Mike. I'm Trevor.
You are not Mike.
I'm not
I
Mike.
I am Mike.
I'm
you
Trevor.
are Trevor.
And that is Mike.
I am Mike.
And this is The Naked Apple. Thanks for listening.